Hey folks, Dr. Mike here from Renaissance Periodization, and I'm here to talk to you about the stupidest reason I've ever personally heard for using steroids, and that is to try to get girls. I'm the most jacked guy at most gyms, unless I'm at like Dragon's Lair where there's all pros, and I'm not exactly a swimmin' in the sea of you-know-what. Clearly it is because I'm 5'1", as my official height. God decided to put various parts of my face where they don't belong. Will getting more muscular get you more female attention? Very generally, the answer is yes. But, huge but. Maybe that's the kind of girls you're into, huh? Aha, comedy. It's just by a bit more on average, female attention from being jacked versus not jacked. It's a small change, and it's only to a point. And that point is if you gain a certain amount of muscle and then keep gaining past that, you actually get into the neutral zone of the last 10 pounds of muscle you put on had no effect on how much you were pulling in. And then after that, it's actually less and less. It gets tougher to get laid as you get more and more jacked. On average, of course. Is achievable by the vast majority of people within 5 years of completely drug-free training. Just to anchor this in your mind, okay? Because I will give reasons and blah, 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 and specific numbers in a second. We'll get into this. But if you're having trouble believing this, you are part of a subculture, fitness, which is different. Very, very different. And we can get some illusions as to about what is that most people like. Regular people, regular hot girls, even fitness hot girls, think that Brad Pitt from Fight Club is like the bee's knees. He's like heroin thin, not a jacked guy at all. We are in a mass delusion in the fitness community about what it is that is peak attractive for the purposes of attracting female. If you're about 6 feet tall, all you have to weigh and are relatively lean, around 10% body fat, is 175 pounds or so. And that's pretty fucking close to what the average hot girl thinks is the hottest physical shape for a guy. Now, I didn't say anything about the face or the income or the personality. We'll get to that later, where I say 2 things I know about each one of those, and we move on. If you want to get bigger than that by 10 or 20 pounds, it's probably going to yield about the same amount of female interest or appreciation, just in a different way. Like, oh, like, hey, what do you think about Connor? Like, he's kind of big, but I like that. Like, that's like 180, 190 or whatever. At 6 feet, if you get to above 200, and keep going, relatively lean, you're into like the muscle fetish girls that really like jack guys, but like they're a small fraction of all attractive girls that you probably into. And the attractive girls that are not muscle fetishists are like less and less inclined to believe that you are very attractive anymore. Let's try some other heights. I ran the numbers on this. Here's how it looks. This is going to potentially shock you, but here we go. 150-pound male physique at 5'6". That's how tall I am, IRL. That gets you an FFMI of about 21.8, which is like damn near 5 points below where they start to think you might be taking steroids. This is not an overly jacked individual at 5'6". So if you're 5'6", which is my height, weird, if you're around 150 pounds lean, you're kind of in that zone of what the average girl who likes guys and is attracted to them seems to think is probably really best. Now, it averages, but if you're really like gonna take steroids to improve your physique to get the girls, they at least got to be shooting for get like this 1% of really weird girls. I mean, if you're into that, hey, like fucking juice up, fuck off, whatever. But if you're really serious about like, I just want attention from females, the logical thing to do is to become as attractive as you can be to as many people as possible. And that means if you happen to be 5'6", which is never grew into an adult height like me, all you do is you weigh 150 pounds with some abs okay, about 10% body fat, and that already puts you into above average muscularity. 150 at 5'6". Man, do you really need steroids for that? The answer is maybe, but highly, highly unlikely. If you're in, how many girls you ever seen like, yeah, like an NBA guy hit on me, but it's like too skinny. Like, ugh. A lot of people think NBA guys are muscular. They wear the jerseys, they got the delts, and like, oh my God, he's so big. Like, no, he's not. And you're over here killing yourself about it. But the reality is our standard, our community standard of what we think a guy should be is kind of infinite. For some people, within 5 years of drug-free training, these numbers will actually not be attainable reasonably. Maybe they're attainable in 8 years, maybe 10, maybe never, okay? And for those people, steroid use may have a net attractive improving effect to the opposite sex. To get girls to like you more so you can go on nice dates and meet nice young ladies that are career-oriented and have everything figured out and even hold out your hand on a walk through the park afterwards and, my lady, and you walk off and you text them 2 days later like a respectful person. That's what you're into, then yes, you could have a number of things you could do, like taking steroids. Absolutely is a fine idea. Not really, but maybe. Become more attractive to women because you can do it without steroids and without all the fucking awful side effects. And let me tell you, there's a ton, all right? So, it's relatively frequent. Erectile dysfunction. Fucking serious? ED, not fun. Not remotely fun. Not some shit you want to get into. It is a very common side effect. Moving on. Health shit. They're bad for your health. Legitimately. Does not help your game. Mood shit. Holy crap. Typically, you would go to a club or a bar to interact with people in a jovial way. Like, hey, what's up? Oh my God, Rhonda from work, hey. If you are on more gear, or any gear, versus being drug-free, you're more likely to become a bit more silent. I used to be nice when I wasn't on gear. Yes, steroids can improve your confidence, but a lot of times that's confidence in a not so nice way. Not life of the party confidence. More like approaching a 405-pound deadlift kind of confidence. Being less communicative, less empathic, you're able to clue in on people's emotions a bit worse and sort of give and take with people. Like, if someone's like, oh, I'm having a bad day today. And they're like, oh, I'm having a bad day. You're like, yep, it's tough sometimes. Next, legal shit. Hey, like, shit is illegal, right? So if you're like, fuck it, I'm going to buy steroids. And it's a huge cost is what I'm trying to say. Another thing is the real life of taking steroids is injecting sucks, traveling with your gear, injecting vials and needles and swabs and all this. Ugh. So like, if you get a girlfriend, you're going to have to tell her sooner or later. She's like, hey, so like, this guy's like, on my Instagram, he's super juiced up. It's gross. And you're like, yeah, fuck that guy. She's like, I would never date a guy with steroid user. And you're like, I would also never date a guy who used steroids. Just to agree with her. But like, and lastly, steroids cost money, which you could spend on other things that would get you laid at a higher ROI. Did I say laid again? Men are terrible. Question. What other levers, casino style, most guys, probably you, can get to peak general attractiveness physique for themselves naturally within 5 years of training and a serious attempt at dieting is just a thing. Again, Brad Pitt in Fight Club, not an impressive physique. Just Hollywood shit. But that really is the physique. Most girls are like, that's great. Be like, don't you want to be a bit more muscular? Like, no, not at all. God damn, that's a low bar. Second, for those folks that can't get up to that muscularity or leanness for genetic reasons, naturally within 5 or whatever number of years they've tried, the return on investment on non-steroid levers of attraction, things you could do like improving your humor, confidence, income, etc., are just way higher than for steroids. Yeah, like if you're more jacked, better things happen to you in real life. It's just better to be more jacked. But it turns out getting more jacked just gets you more jacked, and not predictably comparing who's more jacked is kind of like girls comparing brand names of clothes. Like you may walk in, let's say with a girl that you're friends with to a gym and you're pretty jacked and there's a guy way more jacked. You're like, whoa, look at that guy. And she's like, ugh. And you're like, what do you mean? You look at him. I'd love to look like that. She's like, that ain't me. And you're like, what? But if you're thinking of using steroids and other performance enhancing substances to get more girls, think again. Yeah, just kidding. 1980s drug propaganda out of the way. Seriously, think about it again. And so that you don't end up like me. I've just forgotten. I don't think anyone's ever talked to me. Certainly not a girl. Best of luck out there, fellas. See you in the comments.